whilst the country goes through unprecedented load shedding and water shedding. Good news, ANC ministers don't have to pay for any of it. And welcome back to Morning Shots. So, as you heard, ANC ministers pay for absolutely sweet diddly stuff all. Previously, it was 70% of their salary was spent on luxury vehicles. And you may ask yourself, with all those luxury vehicles, how the hell are they paying for electricity and water, given the increase in price hikes? Turns out, they're not. Hello, Ramon. What do you think of this?
Oh, the great new dawn is upon us once again. Because, my friends, the president has changed the ministerial handbook, i.e. the book where all the perks for ministers are held. Remember when Cyril came into power, he said, I'm going to cut the number of ministers I have. I'm going to cut the perks of being a minister. Okay, he cut it from like 30 to 28 ministers. Wow, big deal. Increased the number of deputy ministers. But then, of course, to sweeten all of that, he says, you can only buy a car for 700,000 and you can only claim back 5,000 Rand electricity. All those cost-cutting measures by Cyril Ramaphosa has been undone by Cyril Ramaphosa. So now it is basically a free-for-all if you are a minister of South Africa. And let us be honest, Byron. Let us be honest. These people work so hard that maybe they do need a bit of respite from their 2 million Rand a year salary. Don't you think?
Yeah, I mean, they obviously do such a hard job looting the country. That can't be easy, mate. I mean, the looting that we've seen in this country actually takes some proper organization. And, you know, organization sounds a lot like hard work. But you know what really gets me is that, like, as we've all seen before, and we've covered many times on this channel, well, we know that ANC ministers are also the best protected ministers because they get the biggest police budget. So here we are paying for Eskom with their 30, 40, 50, however much increase that they're going to have. And I believe parts of your world now even has water shedding. But that's cool because as we saw in Natal, when the going gets tough, the local PM gets, well, their own water supply. So whilst everybody else has no water, well, they got service first. So this really is turning into a communist paradise, isn't it? It's proper rules for thee, but not for me.
Indeed. So just to see how egregious this actually is. So all the ministers have a house on a particular estate, which is close to the union buildings. That estate and the union buildings don't get load shed because, of course, they do such important work as not to be load shed, despite all the mines, factories, and small businesses across the country that are load shed on a regular basis. So the official residence is not load shed. But how's this? Their secondary residence, which they are allowed, is also not being load shedded because guess what? The South African taxpayer has spent millions of rands on generators for Becky Tele's house and Lindiwe Sisudu's house. And every other person who has completely fucked this country beyond any repair, we, the taxpayers, have paid for generators so that the poor people, the poor ministers, can do their work in peace. They're not interrupted by the fuck up that they caused in the first place. I mean, the temerity, the balls on these people is really something to behold.
So, ladies and gentlemen, we have a brand new advert today from the legendary Tagmach. If you haven't already tried their gear, I've got it. I've got all of their pouches, all of their bulletproofs. I've got their quick access medical pouch. The quality is superb. Pay dumbasses still think that these politicians give a flying shit about them, because they don't. They don't give a flying shit. Tell me one thing that they've done that says, I really care about the poor person. Was it the 350 Rand grant? Do you remember who was that famous minister that said, I don't know what 350 Rand gets you. I can't even buy a bottle of alcohol for it. It's useless. Do you remember the famous minister who said that?
We know for a fact the ANC absolutely loves poor people. That's why it keeps creating so many of them. Right, and the poorer you are, the more desperate you are, the more likely you to believe that Becky Taylor is actually competent in some way and not just retarded. And I think that's been the plan all along. Whiteies, stay at home, pay your taxes, so that we, as Becky Taylor, as Lindiwe Sisulu, as Pravin Gordhan, can do our work in peace with our generators and solar systems and, unlimited budget for electrical and water use at our 2 homes that we own, despite the fact that we are on almost 2.5 million rand a year salary package. It's grotesque, it's disgusting, it's Africa.
It was basically a ghost town. There was no one there at all, anywhere. In fact, they actually had kitchen staff there who were waiting to cook MPs their meals, and there was no one there. We were in the canteen where the chefs and the waiters were paid by the government taxpayer. But guess what? There were no ministers. They were just sat there like, la, 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 what time do I get to go home? So you have to ask yourself the question, that ministerial home that you were just drawing reference to? Why the freak do they need it, mate? They don't even pitch for parliament. So what exactly are we paying for? Because at this point in time, I'm lost. I don't see what value I'm getting for my taxes. You?
Well, we do pay for Becky Taylor to go ruin crime scenes. When necessary. We are paying for Lindiwe Sisulu to sweep her front porch in heels. I'm not too sure if you saw that particular video. And we pay for Ibrahim Patel to destroy local manufacturing by putting taxes on everything that is imported into the country. So basically we pay to screw ourselves twice as hard. Once again, TIA.
Yeah, I did see that with Lindiwe Sisulu, and I thought she did a sterling job of sweeping. I think she actually did her sweeping just like everybody else in the government ministers do their mopping up of key issues, which is she swept it to the corner and just pushed it underneath the hedge somewhere so that nobody could see the dirt. It's pretty much symbolic of how government treats everything, isn't it?
Yeah, and if we're really honest with ourselves, why is Cyril actually doing this? Well, I think there's a very important point here. It is the elective conference of the ANC in 2 months' time. Guess who he needs on his side? Everyone that is getting paid by the state. And it is just, a coincidence. A pure coincidence that a year before the elective conference, all of a sudden, all these perks are bestowed upon the very people that allow him to remain as president of the ANC and of the country. Basically, our taxpayers' money is being used to fund internal political factions of the ANC.